Hello everyone, well today I'm going to be unboxing a Hoover that's come all the way from Germany. This is a Hoover Alpina model SC231011 and it was an impulse purchase I found on eBay. Just browsing I came across it just on the regular UK eBay, but it was shipped from Germany and it was priced at €50, which was about £45 at the time of buying it. Then I had to pay about £23 shipping, so under £75. This is supposed to be new and unused, and it will, I expect, have a German plug on it. So I'll need to use one of my adapters. There's no problem with the voltage on these cleaners because Germany uses the same voltage as the UK, unlike America. So it's just a case of changing the plug over or putting an adapter on it. These models date from the 90s, I believe, the Alpinas. I've got several in my collection. I bought this blind without knowing what it was. I did a little bit of research on the interweb. I was hoping it was going to be one of the remote controlled models, but no, sadly not. It's a fairly bog standard machine. Right. Oh dear. Hang on a minute folks. It's going to have to take out the tools because the tool caddy is open. The cleaner itself isn't wrapped up and it should have been. Right, I'll just take the cleaner out. Well, there it is. The seller didn't bother covering the cleaner with that, so we might have a few scratches on here. Let's get out the tools. It'll be interesting to see what kind of floor head this machine has, because a lot of the models sold in Europe differed, certainly in the floor heads, to the ones we got in the UK. This may have been made in the UK. I think it'll say made in EC, but I have a feeling these were made in Cambuslang, Scotland. Well, it's a colour I haven't got. This blue colour looks new so far. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so let's have a look at the cleaning tools first. We have a spare bag. This takes H7 bags. We've got a single telescopic tube. Nothing wrong with that. Quite a nice quality. It's got Hoover's lock ring system. The Alpinas, I think, basically replaced the Sensotronics. The last Sensotronic that came out was a boxy style, and the lineup was reduced to about 1 or 2 models in the UK. So the Alpina really took its place as their flagship cylinder model. So quite a hefty metal tube. We have a standard hose. That's a hose end, the hose handle that we got on UK versions, as long as it's on the non-remote versions. And there's the hose end for the cleaner end. Oh, that's disappointing. Just seen the floor nozzle that it comes with. Nothing very interesting there. Just seeing if this instruction book does have English in it. Oh, it does have English. This was actually an English model. You could buy this in the UK. I did find it in one of my old brochures, so I did discover that it was this blue colour. It's a decent nozzle, but it's nothing very interesting. I seem to get some quite unusual floor heads on cleaners sold in Europe. It's German made though, this nozzle. You'll have seen this before if you've watched my channel. This nozzle has appeared on other makes and other Hoovers too, but it's got the pip fitting. Nice metal sole plate anyway. And there's a foot pedal which lowers the brush at the front, and a squeegee at the back, and you've got your litter pickers in the middle, and your main suction channel with the old side suction. Okay, right, that's the tools. Well, apart from the small tools, but they're stored inside the machine. Under this flap, we can see the 3 small tools. So we've got quite a short crevice tool, dusting brush, not too bad, medium soft, and then very nice design, upholstery nozzle or all-purpose nozzle for your upholstery, stairs, curtains, litter pickers to pick up the pet hair. So that's all present and correct. And under the tool storage, if we release the latch here, we can find the bag and the bag handling cassette, I think Hoover called that. Basically a handle that comes out so you can remove the dirt without touching the bag itself. The bag does seal, but you need to seal it by pulling down here to close the cover. Then you can take this to your bin and then pull the bag out, drop the bag in the bin and slide in a new one. We've got the pre-motor filter just here behind this grill, and I think it's a carbon filter. I did see on the front of the cleaner something about carbon. So carbon filters are supposed to, well, that's come completely out, are supposed to reduce odours. I never found them very effective at that. You can see the black side is the odour reducing carbon side, and that fits in. I think it was black way out. I've forgotten. I think it was. And of course behind there we've got the motor. We'll have to see what wattage this motor is. Obviously this predates any of the EU regulations. And at the time of making this video, August 2019, the UK is still a member of the EU. So I thought, well, while we're still a member, when I saw this machine I thought I'll get it, because I don't know what sort of import charges I'll have to pay once the free trade is removed between the UK and European countries. I'm sure some trade agreements will be sorted out, but I didn't have to pay any import charges on this. I do if I'm importing a vacuum from America. If it's over a certain value, then I am given quite a hefty bill, adding to the price, of course, of the vacuum and the shipping, which is a lot more money. So it is expensive shipping from America to the UK, but shipping from a European EU country to the UK at the moment is relatively cheap. The shipping is about double what it would be, but that's not too excessive. So that fits in there. If you don't fit the bag in correctly, there is a little device here that prevents you from closing the bag door if the bag isn't fitted correctly. So if I just pull the bag out of its position a bit, so this is not going to line up with the hole on the top of the machine. So when I try and close it now, I can't, because that is stopping me. So once you put the bag in the correct position, you saw that move. There we are, look, there. So now I can close it. Let's make sure that's the filter popped out. Then the bag door should close. So looking at the cleaner itself, I think this is one of the later versions because it does incorporate a parking slot on the side, which is actually for the bracket on the extension one. So I can put the nozzle on, and that goes in there like that to park the machine. First generation Alpinas didn't have that facility. Now, being a German model, this was, as I said, I got this from a seller in Germany. We have got a German plug-on, but I do have, fortunately, somewhere here behind me, I've been prepared. I've got one of these special adapters. This has got the more domed or rounded, half-round crescent. Can you see how that bulges outwards? You can get other types of plug that convert a 2-pin to a 3-pin, but for a German plug that's round like this, you do need one of these shaped ones, not one that's flat, because you'll find they don't fit in. This does have a fuse in it, and it doesn't matter which way you put them, and it just pushes in like that, and then you close the cover, and then in a minute when I get my screwdriver I'll just screw up the screw in the middle, and then that converts it for my UK 3-pin plug. Very thin cable on these Alpinas. It's got a little bit scuffed, I'm afraid, because the seller, it could have happened in transit, the seller didn't put it in the bag, and so the inner box is rubbed, so there's scuffing. It might come out with a little bit of polishing, maybe a little bit of T-cut, there's a bit of heavy scuffing there, but it is, from what I can see, unused. So there's the cable rewind, but it is also, as I can see just now, you see that's the trouble with this, it doesn't fit in quite so easily now. Just under this flap here is the exhaust filter, which we locate by pulling up at the back. There we are. Under the cover we've got, that could be carbon as well actually, that feels like it's got some granules in, there's something inside that, so that could be a carbon filter as well. The motor's all housed inside another layer of a moulding, plastic moulding, to keep the noise level down. So that's there, and there should be, I wonder if there should be a filter in there. That could be instead of the filter. I'll have to check the instruction book, because normally we'd expect to see, if I can, it's not letting me open that. Perhaps not then on this model. Normally you should be able to open this, and there's a filter, and there's also a little section there for the Hoover air freshener. So perhaps actually, because this has got the carbon filter, perhaps they've done away with that part. It's interesting. I'll check the book to see if that's the case. Of course, you've got your nice big pedal for your auto chord rewind, and on the other side you've got your foot operated on-off switch. Here's the underside of the cleaner, so you've got the two large wheels at the back and two swivel casters at the front. We've also got a parking or storage slot, which is quite high up, but you can put the tube in like that to store the machine, or for when you're carrying it. Let's have a quick look at the rating sticker. So this is a genuine Hoover made product, Hoover model SC231011, serial number 37649282984523332, made in EC, 230 to 240 volts, 50 hertz. It's a PCEE, 1200 to 1250 watts, P max 1450 to 1550 watts. Okie dokie, fingers crossed that this Hoover Alpina Filtra will actually work when I switch it on. Yes, that sounds like an Alpina should sound, as Hoover advertised the machine's the power of silence. Can you believe? Not very silent, not really very quiet. In fact, I was so incensed by Hoover's claims that back in the day I actually wrote them a letter. A very stiff letter I wrote them. In fact, this was before computers, this was on a typewriter, and I sent them a letter off and I didn't get a response. I said, they're not silent at all. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be silent, but I was expecting them to be quiet. But I suppose quieter than some, but I think the Sensotronics are quieter, to be honest. Let's pop the hose in. There we are. The hose does swivel in the machine, sort of. The actual connector stays put, but the hose does turn as it does on the handle end. We'll give this a bit of a test suction wise. I've got my gauge handy and we'll see what the suction is on minimum, and then we'll ramp it up to max. I'm going to predict on maximum it'll be over 60 on the gauge, but I'm not sure how much more. I don't know if this will have a bleed valve, so once the suction is blocked off, if we hear any air rushing in from somewhere else, it means that there is a relief valve, so we're not going to get a totally accurate measure. But here we go, we'll start off a minimum and slowly increase the power to max. Well, that got up to nearly 100 on the scale, which is pretty impressive, far more than I predicted. But I did have to hold my hand over the suction valve here and partly over the locking ring because there was a lot of air escaping. I could hear it rushing in, so I had to hold my hand there in order to give it a seal. There still was some suction loss. If this was completely sealed and Hoover had paid a little bit more attention to sealing these areas, I think that would have made 100 easily on this scale. So, you know, pretty good performance really. Of course, that is with an empty dust bag, but even if the dust bag's full, I suspect it would have been well over 80. Pretty good performance. So I'll give it a quick push. Not going to do much with this machine at the moment because I don't really want it to damage any more. These are notorious for creaking, especially once they've been used for a few minutes. The heat causes the plastic to expand, and as you turn the machine off, the plastic starts to contract and you hear all these cracking noises. Another machine that does that quite a lot is my Panasonic Icon, a very lovely upright cleaner. If you want to check that out, you'll find some videos of that on my channel, unboxing and demo of that machine. But it creaks and moans. This is a nice nozzle though, so I think it's going to move very well over the carpet. Obviously pre-EU regulations, so we haven't got a silly nozzle that just clamps itself to the carpet so you can't move it at all. I'm going to see how easy it is to push on the carpet setting on the machine, so it's not quite maximum, sort of 2/3 of the way. So there you go folks, that's the Hoover Alpina C Filtra 1500. Not too bad a vacuum cleaner, even on full power. This very nice nozzle was easy to push. So it's not a bad machine, but I believe from what I hear, these machines were prone to overheating because of the amount of insulation around the motor to make them quieter and all the extra layers of filtration. If people didn't maintain them properly, if they didn't empty the bags when they should be emptied, if they let the machine be used with a blockage or a partial blockage, the motor would soon overheat. It would have had a thermal cutout, I expect though, to turn the motor off. But it's a Hoover. It's not bad considering the products we get from Hoover nowadays, certainly in the UK. They're not up to this standard, although the standard was dropping at the point this machine was in the shops. Nothing like the heyday that we had from Hoover back in the good old days, folks. Yes, when I was a little boy, everything was fields. Yes, you'll start saying that one day. In my day, you'll be saying that every day, folks. It's not just old codgers that say it. Anyway, I'm pleased to have it. They're not that easy to get hold of, the Alpinas. You don't see them on eBay often. Still get bags, still get filters. You can still buy the hose. You can still get a lot of the parts for this machine. It's not too old. But it's one that's becoming increasingly rare to see. And it's a nice addition to my collection. If you have any comments or questions about this vacuum, don't forget to comment below. Click the bell icon after you've subscribed and you'll be updated every time I upload a new video. So until the next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.